So feel free. Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today we are doing a bit more of a serious video. I like my channel to be kind of multifaceted. I don't just want to be like, oh, hauls, oh, reviews, oh, look at this pretty palette. I want to put out there like kind of maybe thought-provoking dialogue, because although makeup is just makeup, I feel like in today's society and the beauty community, there are a lot more intense layers to makeup that kind of need to be addressed and discussed, and I want to project out kind of my opinions, my observations, and then what you guys think. Recently, wonderful Miss Kat Von D came out with her Fetish Collection. Now, I reviewed this collection. I will leave that down below. She also had a liquid lipstick, like little bundle that I bought, and a lot of people gave a lot of hue and cry about the overt sexualization of, the makeup she was producing, the whole fetish thing. And then in that kind of the liquid lipstick, she had her shade Lolita as well as her shade Underage Red, which kind of reopened a bunch of controversy that has to do with Kat Von D and her kind of questionable sexualization and naming things in a way that has caused some people to just kind of really voice their opinions. I do have my notes, so if it seems kind of like weird and random going on here, that is why. Okay, so when we think about marketing on a whole, obviously sex sells. You open a fashion magazine and you're greeted with these beautiful, perfect models, scantily clad, draped over perfume bottles, selling shoes, selling food, selling basically everything, while sort of objectifying the object or the idea of the item that is being promoted as kind of overtly sexual. And it can be hard to not get lost in sort of the ambiance or the thought or the idea of a product, because a lot of times in marketing, it's less about selling the item itself and more about selling that like dream, that idea, that whole like, oh, if you buy this eyeshadow palette, this perfume, this lipstick, or this blush, not only will you be beautiful, but you'll be like this person in this ad. You'll be able to get that man. You'll be able to have all this unbridled sexuality. That's what they are selling. And so recently, I feel like the whole sexualization in the makeup industry has become a thing. And Kat Von D has come under fire, but I did want to point out that Miss Von D is not the only offender. I have here a cute little collection of products that are kind of that whole sexual theme and is procking on overtly sexual or fetishized or sensual things. Obviously, we have the Fetish Palette here. We went through all of this. The names all have to do with sort of elements within the BDSM community, which to someone who is not familiar with, say, things such as shibari, safe word, and just things that are kind of known to those people, where for an outsider it would be like, what? We do have her Underage Red right here, which when confronted about it, she stated that she based this color off of a red lipstick she remembered wearing when she was 16 years old. So there is a dialogue story behind this that perhaps should be taken into consideration, but to someone just coming into it without the knowledge of why she named it that, they're not going to know. Then we have Lolita, which is, for those of us with a sort of literature knowledge, it is from Gorbachev's novel Lolita, which deals with sexuality, pedophilia, and the incest surrounding this particular character. I have read the novel. It is not necessarily something I would recommend for a light read for someone who is a fan of groundbreaking literature and things that sort of shook up the game. I would recommend it, but it's not something I'm like, yeah, just go out and read Lolita. It's not a happy read. But moving on from Kat Von D, cue Jeffree Star's Androgyny palette, which a lot of people have been discussing the controversy, I guess, at least on my video, how Jeffree Star released this palette first, and Kat Von D has some names in her palettes that are the same. We have stuff like Safe Word, Dominatrix, Fetish, Swallow, which could be taken one of two ways, either the bird, that's what I thought, or swallow, which I will let you think of what that entails. Sort of a more subliminal sexual overtone is the Urban Decay Naked palettes. Now you would just kind of think, okay, all right, whatever, naked, but if taken into a deeper context, you know, it's the thought of being, you know, naked, bare, and natural, which is, I feel like, what the whole sort of underlying theme of the Naked palettes and the Naked collection is. And we cannot discuss sexual overtones without NAR's beloved Orgasm, and as well as his Deep Throat. I mean, if we're going to be talking about just like complete sexual whatever, there is no hemming and hawing. There is just straight up orgasm and deep throat. I'm not going to go into like, I mean, we know, or at least I do, what deep throat means. Some more offenders from Urban Decay. These are their Afterglow 8-hour blushes. We have the shade Fetish. We have the shade Quickie. Now, once again, someone who isn't familiar with certain nuances and terminology would just kind of like, okay, whatever, but I know what my mind goes to when I think of a Quickie, especially when it's coming from a brand that is known for being edgier like Urban Decay. And then, of course, Kinky. And then products that I don't have but do skirt on that line. Beloved Too Faced, the cutesy pink and childlike and unicorn and clover palette. We have Better Than Sex mascara. We have Sex on the Peach. We have the Glitter Glow Job face mask. And that isn't just like a subtle nuance of, oh, that's so funny. No, it's like, yeah, I mean, there was no hemming and hawing. It's just like glow job. And I feel like if this really is a problem and something that really offends someone when they discuss Kat Von D and they want to trash on Kat Von D for her controversial naming, I feel like we need to hold everyone accountable. If it's wrong for her to do it, it's wrong for every brand to do it. And another thing that's important to note is, when is it artistic expression and when is it something that goes too far? Like any sort of artistic creation, clothing designer, shoes, makeup, any sort of thing that has that artistic vibe to it, this makeup is the outlet for the creators to really bring their own ideas and designs to life. And there are brands that skew edgier, that really want to push that envelope, to release things that aren't just like, oh, this is bubblegum pink, oh, this is, you know, apricot flush. They want things to be controversial. Urban Decay, Kat Von D, Lime Crime, and NARS, which uses overt sexualization a lot, not just in its, you know, single blushes. They just kind of thrive on that 1940s, 1950s, just glamour. And in the beginning of makeup, it was marketed to a very different demographic, usually older women, probably upper class, who were very familiar with, you know, sexuality, whatever. There was no having to explain. There was no like, oh, well, now we're marketing it to 12-year-olds, so now we're concerned about what we're putting out there. The makeup market, the demographic has truly changed now. It used to be, once again, that sort of middle to upper class, depending on what brand or expensive you're working on. And then now we have really young individuals, young boys and girls who are using it as a means to either express themselves or to rebel or both. But either way, it's not just about adults anymore. And as such, I believe the sexualization of makeup makeup is kind of like coming under more fire now that we have concerned parents, now that we have butthurt people. And that leads into the sense of morality. And this is tricky because we all have a different sense of what's right, what's wrong, what's appropriate, what's not appropriate. I have a very high sense of morality in the sense of like, you know, no killing, no doing bad to people, no, you know, there's all that. But I am not someone who is easily offended. I'm not going to be offended by a blush called orgasm. And am I going to buy that blush for my, you know, 14-year-old niece who really wants makeup? No. And then I have a note here that I'm going to just read. We have kind of touched off one element of this. As with anything, these products are an artist's outlet. They in and of themselves are a means of expression. And do we, as offended as we may be, have the right to silence expression if it makes us uncomfortable? We can certainly voice our opinions, but is there real harm just in naming something provocative? And this is where it sort of gets difficult. Where do your beliefs lie? Where is it not okay? When do we draw the line on something that is named but isn't actually the act? It's very different to name a lipstick Lolita or Underage Red than it is to be an incestuous pedophile. But those names of themselves do provoke thoughts and feelings and opinions within the consumer. As a mother, would I want my child exposed to very sexually themed things early on in their life? No, not really. As an adult consumer, am I okay with it being marketed to me? Yes, I'm pretty okay with it. Like I said, I am not easily offended. I don't think that it's something that should be glorified, but I do understand that not everything is necessarily something that I or we need to get offended over. If you don't like the overt sexualization, or if you don't approve of certain names and certain underlying themes, then I would say don't buy it. And if it is really something that you are passionate about, that is very personal to you, start a blog, start a discussion. Don't just sit there and bash and be like, this person is a disgusting human being for thinking about and naming their product this. That isn't constructive. That isn't helping anyone. It's just spreading more hate and isn't going to get anything concluded. Start a blog, start a YouTube channel, start a Facebook group. Talk about why it is offensive to you, why the shade Lolita, Underage Red, or NARS Orgasm, or any other sexually overt makeup doesn't sit well with you and your morals. But also understand that there are going to be people that do not share your opinion, that are either not saying you are easily offended, but who are not easily offended, don't really care, don't think it's a problem, and sort of view it in the sense of, well, I'm going to be buying the makeup with the marketing toward me. It's not a problem. It's not something I have to worry about. Whereas a mother or father with young children, young boys or girls who want to get into this whole makeup thing may be a little bit not okay with what these companies are exposing their children to. But in the end, it honestly is all a very personal preference. I do not believe that this is going to change. The one thing that annoys me, though, with people who like to bash on, say, Kat Von D, which I understand she is a very hot topic right now, there are plenty of other brands who are also offenders. NARS Orgasm, Deep Throat, and Super Orgasm are all considered cult favorites. Maybe I'm a little late to the game and I wasn't here when it first came out, but recently I don't see anyone crucifying him. But all in all, me personally, although I am not offended or not like woo against all of it, I do believe that there is a certain line where it is not okay to glorify in, say, rape, in underage, pedophilia, anything that has to do with basically harming children and harming people. It may be just a name, but it sort of sends a message that it's okay for us to market on these things in order to get a buck. Alright guys, that was that video. I'm sorry if it was a little bit rambly. Sometimes these videos where I talk about different things, I think my most recent one was my opinions on decluttering and kind of the craze that is right now. Like I said, I do want to start more discussions. I want us to be much more involved and much more knowledgeable about the community and the marketing and the industry that we are in, because we are not just blind consumers. We have power to change things and to really show our opinion on this whole industry and within the community. It is just makeup to a certain extent, but with the public awareness that we have today, it sort of is just more than that. We have companies doing shady things. We have all these ethics and all these things that should be addressed. And as the public, as the consumers, we should be able to make a stand and discuss things that don't sit right with us, that are not correct. Obviously, this was more of a opinion-based video. Definitely let me know what you think about this down below in the comments. I love hearing what you guys have to say about these topics. Often I get such wonderful feedback and wonderful things that you guys say that I didn't even think about. I like having my mind broadened, horizons. Please feel free to discuss in the comments. Please keep it civil. Thank you guys so much for watching. I love you. And as always, keep it real. Mwah!